We are live.
Hi, hello, good evening. Welcome to Paranormal Monday Night Live, where we have a special guest tonight that's going to talk about her work. Also, my name's Paul from Host for Ghosts. You have Angela from South Coast Ghost, Paula and Luke from South Coast Ghost. And our special guest tonight is Sarah, and she's going to talk
Hi.
about her work, which is absolutely fascinating. So, is it Sarah Dupont?
It is.
Right, and the name. Anyway, I'll come to that. So, thank you for tuning in. If you want some questions, send them in, and Angela will put them on the screen as always. You know, we'd like plenty of questions for Sarah. Keep her busy for the hour. So, so please put your questions on the chat, and then Angela will put them on the screen, and hopefully Sarah can answer them. Or if you want to talk about another subject while we're here, you know, we all know lots about little things. My partner's here, Jenny.
Hiya.
She's here in the background. That's Sarah. That's Angela, Paula.
Hi. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I just got to let Spirit Dog in. That's Poppy. That's Poppy.
So, welcome to Monday Night Live. As I say, we have a special guest tonight, Sarah. So, what we'll do, we'll go over to Sarah and she'll explain a bit about herself and what she does. So just send in.
Oh, he's gone.
Evening, Christine. Do you want to make a start?
Very frozen. Yeah, you must well start, Sarah.
It just, I don't know what's happening, but I keep dropping out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Okay.
We noticed that because we was about to get Sarah to start.
If I drop out, just start. What I'll do is I'll come off and restart and come back on again.
Okay.
So it's with a great pleasure and a big thank you to Sarah for coming on and explain. So, Sarah, could you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do, please?
Absolutely. Thank you ever so much for inviting me on today.
Welcome.
My business is called Hypnotherapy for Positive Change. So I'm here tonight to talk about past life regression, but feel free to ask anything else. And so I did my hypnotherapy training, which LinkedIn kindly told me earlier this year that it was 27 years ago. So, and when I did, we trained up in London, going up one weekend a month for 3 years for the full course. And everything we learned, we practiced on each other, except for past life regression. It was the only thing that we did as a paperwork exercise. And I've got to say, 27 years ago, I didn't have the spiritual beliefs that I have now. So I kind of thought, what? Oh, I don't know what I feel about that. So I was very lucky because I went to see a friend of mine the following week and said that I'd done the training. And he said, well, come on then, you're going to regress me. So it was great because it made me do one straight away rather than something that I kind of just had the manual for and put it on the shelf. So since then, I've done lots of those. His one is always a story that I tell people is a good example, which I will share again tonight. So apologies if anyone's heard me talk before. So I did it slightly differently then to how I do it now. So I took him back for a few moments in his current lifetime, and he went back and he said, I'm on my bike and I'm going down the driveway and I'm going to crash into the garage, yay! All the enthusiasm of a young boy just having given a bike. And then he went back further and he said, I'm small, I'm very small. Couldn't tell me anything else until afterwards. He says he thinks maybe he'd just been born and was in hospital because he was aware of being in some kind of plastic crib. So he went back further and he was a boy in Victorian times, and he was telling me a bit about that, and he was in the garden with a girl, and I didn't and he said that he kissed her, and I didn't quite know what to ask, so I said, oh, was it nice? And he said, no, she smelled of wee, which I guess in Victorian times everybody probably smelled of wee. So that was my first experience of ever doing one, which obviously was a memorable one and gave me a good story to tell to explain about it. Also, the first client I actually saw for past life regression, still, I wasn't quite sure about the whole subject. So this chap came in, and he had his arms folded, and he said, I don't know whether I believe in this. And I kind of thought, well, me neither, but obviously didn't say that. So I said, well, let's just see what happens. So he was a scullery maid in a large household, and he was telling me about his life and sharing the loft room with the other staff. And he wasn't in it for a huge amount of time. He just told me a few bits and bobs, and then he just brought himself back to the room and said, I was a girl. And he was so amazed that he'd been female. You know, the fact that maybe he'd had a past life regression, past life was one thing, but female, no, that was just a step too far. But again, being able to use that to explain that to people as well demonstrates that we've probably tried it all. We've probably been male, we've probably been female, have had a few people that have been animals, some extraterrestrials as well. Also it goes to show that if for some reason you've had enough, you would just bring yourself back to the room. Because with any of this work, whether it's hypnotherapy or past life regression, one of the things people are concerned about is handing over of control. And when I first qualified all those years ago, Paul McKenna was actually on the TV with a stage entertainer show. So anytime I said to people that I was training as a hypnotherapist, the majority of the responses were, oh, you're going to make me cluck like a chicken. So, and luckily nowadays, obviously, alternative therapies, complementary therapies are more commonplace. So people don't generally have that misconception, thankfully, because both of them are beautiful therapies. And all trance work in that kind of way is just our body's ability to daydream. So what I do is just guide through a nice relaxation. So in a lot of ways it's similar to guided meditation, but people generally relax more. But everybody's different. So some people are kind of more away with the fairies, and some people are more in the room with their eyes shut. With past life regression, I do get people to talk so that they can tell me what they're experiencing. Some people are naturally very visual, so some people do see an image, see detail and see colour. Some people are not visual at all, so it may be an impression or an awareness that comes forward. So very often it comes forward in the way that our natural daydreaming processes do. Anytime we close our eyes, or even for some people, they don't need to close their eyes and just imagine certain things, then how that processing is for people is generally how this work shows up as well. But sometimes it comes forward in a different way. I always say with this kind of work, let's have a play with it and see what happens. So I do, when clients come, I do make a record, a written record for them of everything they've relayed back to me. With past life regression, I can't remember if I just said this or it passed through my head, is people do talk, whereas with general hypnotherapy, I don't get people to talk. They can drift right off if that's what they want and need to do. So I've always made a written record, because I think it's nice for these things to pop it away somewhere and then find it later. So I always make sure I put the date on as well, because time is one of those funny things. Sometimes as well, people have more information come forward afterwards. So having the written bit of paper, they can add more to it, or they may have been aware of more than they were relaying back to me. Sometimes people have things come forward and they think, oh yeah, I'm happy to release that. And so in which case some people have used it to do a little burning ceremony with a bit of paper afterwards. And if people want to record on their phone, then I'm really happy for people to do that. It's their session. So if they want a recording of it, they're welcome to record on their phone. So I've done so many over the years. I love doing past life regression. As I've already said, I've been doing this work for a long time and it doesn't get old. I just love it. Consider myself very honoured to be part of the process. And with this kind of work, it's not me doing something to somebody or even putting them in a trance. All I am is a guide, so people just relax down to what is comfortable for them. So sometimes some people, even if they haven't done any kind of work like this before, are straight in and it comes forward really fast. For other people, it takes a little bit of encouragement. And some people get lots and lots of information, sometimes just little snippets, sometimes it's
Come
lots
again.
of
Right on here.
information about one
Well, you have
life,
to log on.
or bits from little bits from lots of different lives. And there can be a therapeutic value as well of past life regression, as well as curiosity. So one of the things we always do at the end is to ask for any vows, contracts, promises that have been made in any lifetime that are no longer relevant or beneficial to the person to be released. So people may be aware of what that is, or it may be that things are released from lives that they're not consciously aware of at that moment in time. So it's a beautiful therapy. I haven't had anybody at all in all the years I've been doing it that has said, I wish I hadn't come, I wish I hadn't done that. Even when people go through how they passed from that lifetime, if it's relevant for them to see that, it's not re-experienced in a traumatic way at all. It's just kind of more of a, oh, that's how it happened. Oh, that's interesting. So sometimes people find that physical pains disappear as well, or sometimes people recognize people that are in their current lifetime, and sometimes it makes relationships make sense as well. Sorry, I'm trying not to cough, so I'm going to have a swig of my water. If that doesn't work, I'm going to take my earbuds out so I'm not coughing in the microphone. I do need to cough. I'm going to see if I can turn my mic off.
Okay, you carry on.
Apologies.
How'd you get your screen to
Turn it out.
Oh, apologies for that. I've got a tickle.
No
So, as I say, it's a lovely therapy. Sometimes it can be really beneficial for helping people make change, or sometimes people may just feel better and not even equate it to something that's been released through the regression. Do any of you have any questions?
My friend Cindy's just said that she's interested in doing this and she's very open-minded. Does it help to be open-minded?
Absolutely. It helps in the fact that because with any of this kind of work, it's the person that's got to want to do it. So being open-minded, absolutely. So it's like when people come for general hypnotherapy, I often get, well, not often, but I have been asked over the years, can you make me lose weight? Can you make me stop smoking? And the answer has got to be no, because I can't. It's with the stage entertainers, they make it look like that the person is being made to do certain things, but they're very clever little tips and techniques that they use to get the person there, which I'm aware of some of those. But nobody would go up if they weren't happy to make a pillock of themselves. They know what they're going up to do. So, which is why I always think hypnotherapy can help people make any change in their life. The only thing that's needed is to want to change. So being open-minded, absolutely. It's not going to come forwards if somebody is like, yeah, I don't want to do this. So it's like if somebody wants to book an appointment for someone else for whatever therapy they're having, they've got to want to do it, and to do it for themselves, not for somebody else.
Yeah. Good question. So do you think what we do in a past life that we carry into this life with us?
Absolutely. I've had a few past life memories, and some of them have made real sense to things. So sometimes it can be, yes, somebody carries on having certain traits, or maybe may even be drawn to the same kind of work, but it can put barriers in this current lifetime. I've definitely got number dyslexia, so mine is a sequential thing, but I've always said I don't do numbers, can't do numbers, and I have avoided. I was obviously brought up, being the age I am, spreadsheets weren't a thing when I was at school and young, so spreadsheets are not something that I use in my bit more now, but I haven't been using in my everyday life, or looking at maths and my accounts and things. So that's always been a struggle for me, and I've always avoided it till the last possible minute. And then a friend of mine was coming down to help me go through my accounts and create a spreadsheet, and she arrived and I actually burst into tears and was having kind of a phobic response to something, and logically I thought, for goodness sake, don't be so daft. However, it didn't, it didn't stop the feelings come on, and I had a past life memory come forward slightly later than that just made sense, where I had been a bookkeeper in a large estate, and I was aware of myself having kind of a velvet cap on with a feather in it, and having a big ledger and writing with a quill, and people had been stealing from the funds, but I was the one who was a bookkeeper responsible for keeping all the accounts, so the buck stopped with me, even though it wasn't my fault. And I know I was put to death, and my family were either, I'm not sure whether they were put to death or whether they were exiled from the household estate. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I still have a turbulent relationship with a family member. And years ago, I did a past life regression, and we were together in that lifetime. And and there was a lot of heartache there. So I could see why I'd had the feelings that I'd had in this current lifetime. I had another one come forward that I was killed because I was in a position of wealth, and it was a family member that killed me for the wealth, and that has led on to beliefs and fears that have popped up when I've analysed why repeating patterns have been there around feelings that arise sometimes to do with money. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So yes, definitely there are things we carry through. So sometimes it can be how the lifetime was left as well. So sometimes people may have gone through very traumatic endings, so have made a decision, I'm not doing that again. And that may be where my money wobbles, not wanting to do accounts, had come from.
Do you think that our phobias that we carry in this life could be what we've brought through from a previous life? Like some people scared of flying, spiders, whatever it may be, our phobias that we have in the earth plane now. Do you think that could be something that's brought forward through our previous life into this now life?
Certainly can, absolutely. I wish my mum passed away not long after I did my training, and I really wish that we had done a past life regression, because she was always frightened of water, and would have a dream about drowning. So I wish we had the opportunity to do a past life regression, because I think that was how she left one of her lifetimes.
Do you think if you took someone back into a past life, whether you could cure that phobia by working with them in a previous life? Do you think?
So sometimes it's like any kind of work. How counselling often works is bringing something up for awareness so it can be released. And it's the same with past life regression as well. Absolutely, something coming forwards can be released. I've had people who've had physical pains disappear as well. I had one lady many years ago that came, and she said that she couldn't bear to wear anything around her neck. A scarf was tricky. She had to have it really loose, and she couldn't wear a high neck jumper. And she used to be okay with those. And it started when she was pregnant with her first son. And we did a past life regression, and she was a servant girl in a large household, and she had become pregnant by one of the sons of the household. And when she told him, he strangled her with a horsewhip.
Oh.
And so obviously she told me that afterwards that she recognised him as the father of her boys, her ex-husband, in her current lifetime. And she phoned me a couple of weeks after the session to say it's gone. It's completely gone. That feeling that had been there for several years, just gone. So yes, absolutely. I've had people who've had like neck and shoulder pains and have been hung in a previous lifetime, and then that gets better afterwards.
It's like they say that about birthmarks, you know, they're in the places of the trauma where you died in a previous life. What's your take on that, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got one just below the base of my neck, and I haven't had it come forwards in a past life regression, but when I think about was that connected, what comes to mind is yes, I think I was probably beheaded in a previous lifetime. To say I haven't gone into the memory of it, but that kind of, as I think about it, that's kind of the impression that I get.
Can you take yourself back to regress, or do you actually need someone else to do it with you?
So anybody can do it kind of as they would going into meditation themselves. And I firmly believe that the unconscious mind will protect a person absolutely unconditionally. So it will only bring forward something that it's okay for it to do so. So whether that's something from this lifetime or whether from a previous lifetime. So so it would only bring forward something that people were okay to look at. So yes, I think that's probably for people who are more seasoned meditators, or I always say to people as well, if they've come for a past life regression, once you've kind of opened the door into it, I mean, the door closes when you leave, it's not that you're carrying it round, but if you're meant to know more, other bits might just pop in,
Right.
or people can sit and do some nice breathing, take themselves into a meditative state and ask to connect and be shown a little bit more.
That's interesting. Have you got a question there, Angela?
Yeah, Cindy's asked, can it help to let go of past trauma?
Yes, absolutely.
So if you've had a traumatic childhood or whatever, it can help get you over that, shall we say, like the stumbling block that may cause you an issue on the earth plane now.
Absolutely. And as I say, what I do is I ask for anything that's ready to release from any lifetime. So, and that includes the current lifetime. And I always think when people come in that they receive what they most need.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
it's not always what they expect.
Oh, I can imagine some funny things must happen. Some funny things must really happen, mustn't they?
Absolutely. There's been a couple of times as well that people have come in and their guides have spoken through them. That's been really interesting. The first experience, so I've had people who've been animals. The first one like that, not many that I've had, or that has the experience that's come through when they've been here with me. But the first one was a friend of mine, and luckily she was talking, not barking. She was telling me about having been a dog, and she said, "No, I was a top dog. I ate first." And so that was obviously very interesting. And I kind of, the first one that hadn't entered my head that somebody may have been an animal when they came for a past life regression. And I was kind of like, Oh, okay. Inside, obviously, I didn't do that to her.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh gosh, that makes sense. So when I first met her, I've known her for a very long time. And when I used to go around her house, she was part of the Shih Tzu rescue. So she always had all these dogs. And I never knew how many were hers, how many were rescues, which ones was, like friends that she was boarding. And so I was like, oh, that makes sense. And now that is her, she solely works with dogs. And I was like, yeah. So when that was her, I was just like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
That makes all sense. So you can
I would
see where
say she's still the top dog, and I say that in the nicest possible
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
that will probably go on for
So-
life, won't it?
Yeah. I did have the first one I had of somebody being an extraterrestrial was really interesting, and it had a different feel about it. So they were telling me about the life experience, and they were able to leave their body and travel, and the craft they travelled in, their vehicle, was made of organic material. And their role was to go to other planets and collect like samples, like soil samples and things. So that was really fascinating. And then saying about how their experience of the earthlings. So that was amazing, and it had a totally different feel about it. And afterwards, the chap said to me, "Oh," he said, "I don't know where that all came from." He said, "It's like years ago when I used to be a platform medium," and I was like, "Ah, that makes sense." So I wasn't sure whether it was a lifetime he had experienced,
Right.
or whether he was connecting in. But I guess
Right.
at the end of the day, it didn't matter. That was what was meant to come through. But I have had people whose guides have come through. They've been aware of it. They haven't been. They've still been aware of it afterwards. Couple of people that have come to mind that have done that. One of them was more aware than the other one was. The other one would kind of dip in and out a little bit, and was kind of aware of the conversation, but not was kind of felt like they were standing back a little bit from it.
Yeah.
And both of these people were okay, absolutely okay with that. So it wouldn't ever happen to somebody who it would freak out.
Mm.
One
Have
of
you
them,
ever- Sorry.
on.
Have you ever seen features change while you're doing a regression, like someone like they're being overshadowed by that person in a previous life? Like facial features change.
I haven't, but I am aware of kind of energies going on around. I'm often aware of, I don't see, but I'm aware of like an energy behind and where it will be, how tall they are. I haven't actually been aware of the face changing.
Yeah.
But
you're aware there's someone in the room with you, and
absolutely.
Right.
Sometimes there's quite a few. I think they will come and have a nosy.
Get out.
And in fact, one of the people who and he actually came quite regularly because it helped. He did his own channeling work, but he came specifically after that first time to connect and allow the guides to talk through him, and he would record the sessions. And he was aware of us. He said it was like the room disappeared and we were being surrounded by kind of interested parties, kind of like we were in it was like a council all around. So that was really interesting. And one of the ladies who came, who the guide was speaking through her, he was taking the mickey out of her, which was quite amusing, and she was used to working with this guide, but he'd come in to speak through her and was taking the mickey out of her, and said, yeah, one day he said she put her keys down on the hallway table and she couldn't find them for a few days. He said we all thought it was hilarious because she was looking for them everywhere, but she'd slipped into a different dimension and put them down, and it wasn't until a few days later she connected back in and took them out. They were there on the table for her.
Wow.
So there's been quite a few things that I've learned along the way, which, as I say, I feel very honoured to do this
Yeah.
work. I've learned a lot. It's also made me feel very grateful. I know that if you listen to the news, there are so many horrible things going on,
Yeah.
but actually the life especially the life I live, that we live in this country, wow, it hasn't always been the way. I think one of the most heart-wrenching ones for me was somebody who was one of the lives they connected into. They were a child in the workhouse, and nothing that clothes were passed down to them from other children. They didn't own anything, and the children were dying because they were malnourished. There just wasn't enough. The illness was rife. There's a lot of them that have made me feel very humbled.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? When you go back and you listen to their previous life, how hard they would have had it in a previous life, and then in this life, some people are not grateful for what they've got, are they?
No.
And it sort of makes you wonder sometimes whether, they deserve what they got in this life, because, surely you're more humble in a previous life. You bring that through and realize the value of clothes, money, food, and all of that type of stuff. So if, say, for argument's sake, you were killed in a battle for a battle, so would that whole scenario come forward as you die, as you're shot, stabbed, whatever may happen? Does that come through in that traumatic experience? So you're seeing it, something's happened, and then it's gone dark. Does that happen?
So if people do go through the time that they passed, it's never felt in a traumatic way. I mean, some people do cry at different points in past life regression. Sometimes people are crying and they say, I don't know why I'm crying, but it's obviously a release that's happening. One of the best examples I can give, I think, is I had a lady a long time ago who had been like many healers and medicine women of their time, were then put to death by soldiers or betrayed. But with this particular one, she was aware the soldiers were coming, and they came and they killed her. But she told me afterwards, she said, oh, it's really weird. She said, because they removed my eye. She said, they cut my eye out. She said, and I could feel it sat on my cheek.
Oh, right.
But she wasn't traumatized by it. She was just telling me, wow, that was what happened. So sometimes people do go through how their life ended, but it never generally goes dark afterwards.
Right.
So often then sometimes people do go to the time afterwards to where they pass to. So and people tend to experience that in slightly different ways, but always it's a sense of peace, a sense of freedom. And we can ask what lessons were learnt over that lifetime.
Right.
And also you can ask from that higher perspective, what advice would you give to the you of today? So, and if people particularly want to know certain things, it's helpful if they let me know, so that obviously I can suggest that. And if it's meant to come forwards, it will. But it's quite a lot to pack into a session, and sometimes people connect so fast, and sometimes it takes people a while to connect in. So
how far back can you go? Is it one life, 2 lives, 3 lives, whatever?
it's whatever wishes to come forwards.
Right.
I did go several years ago. I went with a couple of friends of mine to London to hear Brian Wise, I think that's how his surname's said, talk. And one of the meditations he asked us to do, or guided us to, was to connect to this big string of pearls and each pearl represented a life that we've been here. And my friend said she was picking it up and she was wrapping it round, wrapping it round, wrapping it round. There was just so many. But of course, and if you look at the concept that a lot of people believe that time isn't linear, it's kind of where is it all happening
Yeah.
at once, simultaneously? That's something that would just blow my mind.
Yeah. And do you think that's where that deja vu comes from? Is it something that we've recognised in a previous life, or where
I
you
think
recognise
so.
it but you haven't been there? We have that deja vu moment, don't we? We think, well, I've never been here before, but how do I know this building was there, or this was here? And do you think that was
Absolutely.
because of a previous life?
Yeah, and why people you go to another country and it just feels like home, or they meet a person and you just like you're meeting them for the first time, but I know you just know in your heart that you know them. So I have had several instances of two people wanting to come together and have like back-to-back sessions and sit in on each other's, because they felt like they already know each other, so they want to explore whether they had past lives together.
Wow. Any more question, Jen?
Yeah. Oh, I think Paul and I would like to come and see you. Firstly, I'm very, very claustrophobic, and I've got to go for a MRI scan again, and I'm absolutely dreading it. So
Oh,
I'm
bless
wondering if
you.
you can help me with that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Past life
Yeah.
and or hypnotherapy will
Yeah.
are both worth exploring.
And Paul, we believe that he was either a pilot or something in one of the world wars, because he knows so much about the war, but he doesn't know how.
Yeah,
And he's correct, because we've looked it up.
absolutely. It comes from somewhere, doesn't it?
This is what makes you wonder. If suddenly you know this information, you think, well, I've never studied anything about the war or planes or whatever, but something happens, and I say, oh, that's so and so and so and so, and that's that and that's that,
And I say, how do you know that?
and I don't know.
Yeah,
And I don't know.
but the strangest. Do you want to tell the story, Paul, about the when we were at Maria's that time?
We was at a friend of ours.
I'm going to go and sit down because it's not comfortable.
And this
Okay, lovely.
probably makes sense to you. We were at a friend of ours, and we were sitting in the lounge just chatting, and I suddenly came up. Oh, it's June the 6th. It's D-Day. Where that come from, I don't know. Then suddenly I felt quite strange, and I thought, what's going on here? So I closed my eyes, and then I could see myself standing by a corner shop with an air raid warden's hat on, and I'm standing there looking at a book, what I think is a book, and they started to ask me questions. Where are you? I'm saying, I'm on the corner. Why can't you see me? And it goes on like that, and then there's a crash, and then I run across and help with this plane crash. Anyway, cut a long story short, they asked me, do you know who the pilots' names are? And I got these two names, but I don't know where or how. And it goes right through the story, and then it ends. So after I came out, it's about half an hour, 20 minutes of going through this stage. And then I thought, oh, I know, well, I'll Google it as I've come out, because it's come to an end. And as I Googled it, and everything that happened on that day is on Google. The pilots' names, the crash in Red Hill, and blah, blah, blah. And then a few months later, they had an open day at Biggin Hill. So we decided to take the grandchildren up there to have a look around. And as we're wandering around, Jen said, you've got to come and look at this. Come and look at this quickly. And as I came around the corner, there was the two pilots that I'd seen helped get out of this plane crash, named Johnny, squadron leader Johnny Johnson, and whatever his co-pilot was. And there they were next to their bomber. Just so that makes me wonder whether something in a previous life, I don't know. I just don't know how I know these things.
I would say a great big yes.
Yeah. It's just, it's just, I don't know. It's just
got fascination for RAF.
Yeah, I got this thing with the RAF, and you know, something. And if I hear a certain plane, and I get goosebumps just by hearing that engine noise. So I think somewhere along the line in a previous life, whatever, I may well have been in D-Day, a pilot, or something to do with that, because you know I hear these engine noises and I get goosebumps, and I don't know why. But I'm thinking maybe I will come and see you and see where you can take me,
Absolutely.
without a doubt, and try and get some answers. And what's your take on? I don't. Anybody else got any questions before I ask one?
I was going to
Paula?
say, last week, do you remember that lady was on there? She was saying about the mirror scribing. Do you remember you saying about mirror scribing and saying
Mirror
about
scribe.
people?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were
Yeah,
saying about the faces coming. Is it
yeah,
people from previous, or is it from the? You know what I mean, yourself, basically,
yeah,
or is it ghosts? That's what you was going to ask, weren't you? That lady was asking last week.
yeah. About mirror scrying. You know, when you
Yeah.
look into a mirror and your features change, and somebody was asking whether it's spirit that's coming through the mirror to connect, or whether that you're actually seeing back to the past.
I
Have you
would
heard
say
that
it
one
could be
before?
either.
Right.
Could be either. There's no reason why I can see it wouldn't be either.
So it could be that you're looking back at yourself from a previous life through, or I don't know, black hole time, whatever it may be.
And I
Or it
guess
could
that's
be
an
the
intention that could be set. If somebody wanted to do that, they could ask. So that could
Yeah.
be their intention
right.
when they are scrying.
Any other questions there, Angela?
Yep. Cindy's asked, does it help to do a prayer of protection before you have a past life regression?
I think prayers of protection are always good to do anyway. I always, I know that my therapy room has got a lovely, great big shield around it. And it was lovely that was confirmed by the friend of mine who, when he said that it was like the room disappeared, he told me about all the protections that were around the room. So that was nice to hear that as well. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's healthy to pop our little bubble of protection around ourselves anyway, because just for general life, the stuff and nonsense of or the drains and radiators that are out there, as they say about people. I used to, I mean, if anybody doesn't know about a bubble of protection, it's such a good thing to do. And you can imagine it in whatever way. It doesn't have to be hard. It's the intention that you set out for it. My dad was the classic Eeyore, and if I used to go and visit him and I hadn't put my bubble of protection on, I'd be sat there and I would start yawning and just wouldn't be able to stop. And a few times he'd say to me, "Are you all right to drive home?" And I'd come out of there absolutely knackered. So I think we all know people that, and they can be delightful. There are people that are kind of always on the go, like the Duracell bunny, and they leave and you're like, because they've got recharged from your energy. And I did a really interesting exercise on my hypnotherapy. I've always thought of it more of a spiritual thing, but on the hypnotherapy training, we did an exercise where we were paired up with people in a big room, facing each other. You faced your partner on the other side of the room, and one person was to imagine anywhere between them an imaginary barrier, and the other person, their partner, was to walk towards them and to stop where they felt it was right to stop. And every single person stopped. There was one person still walking, and he walked right up to his partner and said, "Oh, I've obviously done it wrong because I've carried on walking." And they were like, "No, I actually put it right in front of my face." But every person had stopped where their partner had just imagined that barrier. So energy work is so powerful. So yes, absolutely. And we're after 9, so I will use a rude word. I was telling one of my clients once about putting the bubble of protection on, and it just popped into my head to call it the bullshit bubble. So yes, absolutely. Prayer of intention, bubble of protection, wrapping it around you like a cloak, always a good thing. I do it every night when I go to sleep. I ask Archangel Michael to come in for protection. because when I go to sleep, I always ask to connect with whoever wants to connect, because I think when we're asleep, we go off doing whatever we need to be doing. So I always ask to connect to somebody, but I always call Archangel Michael in to oversee.
Yeah, we use him when we go into a paranormal investigation. We would ask the Archangel Michael to cover us in a ball of protection, you know, and we don't take home what we didn't go with, and you know, we asked him to protect us. And most of the clients that go as well, you put that bubble protection around the door, so as they come in, they're walking into that protection bubble. Not that they know, but you know yourself that once they come through, they're safe, because nothing in the building is going to get to you or harm you. So we always feel quite comfortable. People say, "Oh, this is nice in here," but don't realise they've actually walked through that bubble, like you were saying, the bullshit bubble, into somewhere where it's protecting them from, you know, psychic attack, if you want for a word, or, you know, it's like listening to people talk, but don't take on their baggage, isn't it? Because otherwise you get so full up with it, eventually you become unwell yourself because you've got no release of that baggage. Did you want to ask a question?
Well, no, I was just going to say, you know, because Paul and I are both mediums, and you know, that is part of our job and part of our work is about putting up protection and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to focus quickly on Luke. You know, the comment that you put on Facebook, and I said about manifestation, manifesting what you want. I know this is going slightly off subject, but I just wanted to, because I won't see him to say it. But yeah, see, it's been said about how energy and all of that kind of thing is really powerful. And I always say from thought to deed. So it's like the magician in the tarot, from thought to deed. So yeah, you can manifest what you want, Luke.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Thank you.
I was, when I first heard about the law of attraction, which was probably around the time the book The Secret came out, and had a friend who was teaching about law of attraction, I was just amazed. It's exactly the same as the hypnotherapy teachings. What you focus on is what you get more of.
I actually manifested myself a Welsh dresser.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I manifested a holiday to Mystique in the Caribbean,
wow!
going on a private plane. It was gifted to me. Not the plane gifted to me, the holiday was gifted to me. So that was I can see how I manifested that.
I put it out to the universe on the Friday, went into my singing group on the Tuesday, and this lady says, "Oh, you know, I work at the Barn Theatre. We're trying to get rid of some props. Does anyone want a Welsh dresser for nothing?" I put my hand up. Yes.
Isn't it brilliant when these things happen? It's like, thank you, universe.
And it took a couple of days.
I went to a healing share one night, and while I was doing the healing, I thought, all right, I really must get myself a couch, turn on my phone at the end, and somebody I knew would message me to say, do you know anyone who wants to buy a massage couch?
Brilliant.
I was obviously very in the zone with the healing energy.
How did you get the holiday in Mystique?
A friend of mine, Eloise, is a money alchemist, and she's created the most beautiful checkbooks. So like not The Secret, but on The Secret website, you can download a blank check from the universe that you write yourself. And the first one I wrote was for a posh holiday for myself and my daughter. And then a few months after, my friend invited me on her family holiday to Mystique.
Oh, wow.
And my daughter didn't come with us, but she stayed in her seaside flat in Boscombe. She got paid to stay there and look after my friend's Sphinx cats. And my daughter had always wanted Sphinx cats. She came away from that not wanting Sphinx cats because they're not like cats, they're like naughty toddlers.
It's amazing though, isn't it? And it's proof that it can be done.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And this is what we keep telling Luke. You know, man, put it out there, put it out to the universe and let them work on it for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how I met Paul.
Not in the universe.
No.
It wasn't floating around.
Was it careful what you wished for?
Oh, no, oh, no. It's everything that I wished for.
That's good.
What's your take on out of body experiences?
Yes, I don't know. I haven't got a lot of information on them, but I've had one hypnotherapy client have an out of body experience years ago. She said she floated up and she was up in the corner looking down. But that's kind of the only. And my mum, when she was having a pacemaker fitted, she obviously passed away for a few minutes because she was aware of being out of the body, looking down, and she could see a tunnel with light.
Wow.
So, but I don't know a lot about them.
I remember I studied parapsychology at university as a mature student, and one of the exercises was to try and get yourself an out of body experience, and they were teaching you to point and focus at night on a center point of the room and just allow yourself to drift into that point. And when I tried it the first time, I couldn't really do it. I couldn't sort of concentrate for that long, and you start looking around the room, so you've lost that point of contact. But I kept going and going and going, and at one point the room suddenly got so small, like the room disappeared and I was out. But it freaked me because I could see myself laying on the bed, and I came straight back. I just for a split second I could see myself on the bed, and it freaked me so much that I'd actually come back, and I actually sat up, and I sort of sat up and went, well, that was very weird. Was I dreaming? I couldn't work out whether I actually drifted off to sleep and dreamt what it was, but I actually did it. But I've never done it since, because I just don't know. I don't know whether you did come back. If something happened, would you ever come back?
I guess you would, because in a lot of ways it's like meditating, I presume. Oh, sorry, got a notification come up. But yeah, not something I want to do.
No. So is that 1 hour?
I trust that it's safe, but I just wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, I think your brain would stop it, wouldn't it, if something was to happen?
Yeah, it's the same with any of this work. It's okay if you're open to doing it, and if you're not, it won't happen.
Yeah,
unless spirit have other ideas.
And I think you sort of wake up with a jolt, is that your body's sort of restarting you, making you suddenly wake up. Because you wake up with a jolt, don't you? Think, "God, blimey, what was that?" And I think that's the body saying, "Come back. You need to come back now." So I think you're very well protected when you do that type of thing. But I don't think it's something I would try again, to be honest. I remember the experience, and I thought, "Oh, I don't." And it must have just been seconds, and then I was back, sat bolt upright in the bed. So my body obviously knew something was wrong and pulled me straight back into it. So is that 1 hour and 4 minutes? Is that right? I can't see it properly.
53 minutes.
Oh, it says 1 hour 4 minutes on your phone.
Oh, right. Yeah, don't get my phone fast.
All right. Any other questions, Angela?
I've just got one. Have you had any clients that have claimed to have been sort of really famous people in past lives?
I've had one that did, yes. But I think that's, to me, that as well goes to show that. Right, I'll rewind. So one of the schools of thought is that we've read a book, watched a film, and we've adopted a role that we've kind of connected to. But I think if that was the case, I'd have more people that had been famous historical figures. I've only had one who was one of the wives of Henry VIII.
Oh,
wow. I have also had people that have had lives that have crossed over, as in more than one lifetime at once. And how I've had that explained to me is that our soul could be having more than one life experience.
Okay.
So that's only one or two that I'm aware of that they've had that.
Yeah.
That kind of one finished when they were already alive here,
Wow.
or there was a crossover of dates from other ones.
Interesting.
That's quite interesting, isn't it? Where it can actually cross over from there to now.
Absolutely.
You know how that can happen. Do you
I
think that's
guess when
down
they,
to spirit?
I think if they talk about time not being linear, then that makes it make sense.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much we don't know and we can't fully comprehend.
Luke, do you have
Which
a
is probably
question?
just as well.
Yeah, it's probably it keeps us sane. I think if we don't know the real truth or we can't work it out, I think sometimes if we knew the truth, we'd probably go insane, wouldn't we? Really?
Yeah,
Because
it's
we'd
like
forever.
sometimes when we go, I'm up for seeing, one of my loved ones, and then you get a glimpse and you go, no, it's okay.
Yeah,
I love
that'll
you, but
do.
no.
Yeah, thank you for that. Luke, do you have a question?
No, just I'd like to try it one day to see what happened in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have any inkling what you might have been in a past life?
I know we talked about it once, but I'm embarrassed to say it. Really,
Why are you embarrassed to say it? Because
it doesn't sound. People think it was stupid. I think.
You're not
Well,
stupid.
it's not stupid, Luke, is it?
No.
You don't forget what other people think. It's what you feel.
Yeah.
It's the truth. That's what it comes down to. And you just be honest with yourself. And like Sarah's saying, you put it out there, send it out to the universe, and let them work on it. It will happen. You've got to believe it,
Yeah.
but it will happen. It will come. So what did you think? Who did you think you were then?
Because I've only guessed it. It's not 100%. I'm not too sure, but it's like because I was like born the day after he died, the same year and everything, and I have like a birthmark on my head, would make sense of how he died.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think you could have been reincarnated from this person?
Yeah. I played a few of his songs on guitar as well. Actually,
Right.
I realised that a few years ago when I was younger.
Interesting. It'll
It's
be
interesting to come to have and explore.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Dora, have you got any questions you'd like to ask Sarah?
Yeah. Have you got anyone before which this life was their first life? Like they haven't got past life yet?
I think in all the time I've been doing it, I've only had one person who had nothing come forward. So quite probably. I've had a few people that I think that this has been their first human life. That they've been in different forms in different places. But never say never with any of it. I always say I will never be surprised at anything now, but who knows? I didn't really say that, did I?
Yeah. we look at it like every day is a school day. We learn something different every day of our life, don't we? As we go on, whether we're put onto this planet to teach, to be taught, or to be guided, or whatever. But as like every paranormal investigation that we do, it's always something different. So we learn every day is a different day, and I tend to call it every day is a school day. I learn someone that says that you know it all and done everything. You doubt that person because we're still learning now. After being in the motor trade for 30 odd years, I still learn now. And people say, "How do you know all this?" And it's because every day's a school day, isn't it? You learn something different every day.
I think that's how you should approach life, with a curiosity. Otherwise, it must be rather dull.
Yeah. And you get people that worry about what's going to happen tomorrow and the day after and the day after. But they're things I think you can't control anyway.
Yeah.
You just deal with them on the day or when they happen, don't you? And that's the life that we live.
I think the serenity prayer is always a good one to come back to, isn't it? Remembering the things that we can control and the things that we can't, and letting that go.
Unless you get a deja vu or something about it, or thing about it.
You got another question? Or?
No, just going to say hello to Dora.
Oh,
Didn't know she was there.
Anyway, have you been? Last question, and then we'll chat it down. Have you ever been on a paranormal investigation yourself?
I have been to one at the 1940s tea room in Havant. I know you guys go to Groundlings.
Yeah.
I have been into Groundlings Theatre, not for a paranormal, but I went into the area where all the costumes were stored, and I was just like, no, I wanted to get straight out of that. No, thank you.
So that one experience was enough for you, is it?
No, I'm very open to exploring more. I didn't know how I felt about when a Ouija board came out at one of the other one I went on. I was like, you're not sure about this, but then only because I was surprised it was there. Though I was surprised, but I was. But no, there's been a few things that I've kind of like experienced. There's only been a couple of things I could say I've seen with my physical eyes. One being a cat in the house I used to live in, Petersfield. I went up the stairs and there was a cat at the top of the stairs, but I could see through the cat. That's kind of the only, and I was just like, oh, hello. And then when I talked to the people who used to own the house, they went like, oh yeah, have you seen the man yet? No. I've heard the man. I've heard the man a lot, but I was just like, oh, thanks now. So although I think I'm okay with these things, there are still moments where, so I think it's when it's in your own home as well. It's just like, no thanks.
We have paranormal experiences here, don't we?
All the time. It's a haunted bungalow that we live in. Things happen all the time. And we'll go out shopping and come back and then hear a conversation going on in the lounge and think that it's Jenny's daughter and the kids that will come over, and then we come into the lounge, there's no one here. We're thinking, at 3 o'clock in the morning I've heard men talking, thinking, are they in the house? Or I've looked outside now, so I come into lounge and obviously it stops. See, I think we get a bit blasé sometimes with it. We just
I think the latest one was the picture coming off the wall.
Yeah, we've got a picture in the hallway. I mean, laying in bed.
No, you heard it, darling. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I forget what time it was. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we were obviously asleep. And I thought I could hear a noise in the house, and I sort of sat up and looked. And Jen was fast asleep, and the picture in the hallway literally came in the door and rolled like someone had just rolled it into the room. And I'm like, how can that happen?
It's like a canvas type one, not a.
It's never ever come off the wall. So I got up, sort of picked the picture up, thought, what was that? And the hanger was still in the wall, the canvas wasn't damaged. It's just like somebody picked it up and just rolled it into the room, because I saw it roll through the door. And I thought, what?
The house that I used to live in Cosham, I'm very glad I wasn't in that evening, but there was a lot of crashing going on in the conservatory. And my brother and his girlfriend and my mum went out, and the vacuum cleaner was out of the cupboard waving around in the air.
Oh my God.
And my brother witnessed that. His girlfriend ran off screaming. Wow. My brother witnessed that. And when he was thinking about my mum after she passed, all his pots and pans started waving on their rack. But he doesn't believe in any of that. Even though when I talk to him, he will try and give me a scientific explanation about these things. And I'm like, how? Why? You saw that?
Explain
Some
it.
people are funny, aren't they? Like
sometimes you beg for a scientist to tell you why it done that. I mean, they look at you stunned. Well, it could have been this or it could have been that. And they never really know the answer, because some things that happen you can't explain. Hence why they become, the unexplained or paranormal or supernatural. Where you just can't explain what's going on. It's just how it is. Right. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, Sarah, tonight and spending an hour with us.
Thank you. I'm sorry to those who didn't get a chance to do much talking. Sorry.
Who?
All these other lovely people here. Luke, I'm so sorry. Is it Paula? It's more writing.
Are you all right?
Dora. Sorry, you lovelies didn't get a chance to do any talking.
It's a bit like that. Luke hardly ever says anything. We have to keep tapping the camera and make sure it's actually live, and he's not actually that he's not actually frozen in the screen. So Paula, Dora's in and out because Dora has a very busy life. So Dora comes in and out as and when she can, and Paula's generally on here all the time, the same as me and myself and Angela.
Part of the
So,
fixtures.
How do we get hold of you then?
have you got a website you want to promote? If you want to tell
I've
everybody,
got a website. I'm on all the usual suspects. I'm Facebook is my go-to for most things. I've got a lovely Facebook group as well. If anybody wants to join it,
Oh,
I
that'd be
do
nice.
oracle card readings on a Wednesday for people on a live, and I send distance healing every Sunday, a group healing for anybody who requests it. So I'm on Facebook. My personal one is Sarah Dupont. My business page is Hypnotherapy for Positive Change. And I am on Instagram and LinkedIn, but Facebook is where I hang out the most. So anybody can feel free to connect on there.
yeah.
And I do have a website, which again is Hypnotherapy for Positive Change. That's .co.uk. It's a bit of a long-winded one.
Lovely. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
It's on the screen now.
Brilliant. Thank you. So if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to message me with them.
Yeah, I think you'll be quite busy after this. There'll be a few people
Yeah.
that'll be
That would be
ringing you.
lovely. I love doing
We'll put
sessions.
you on the map.
So I'm in Southsea. I've got a lovely little cozy therapy room at home in Southsea, but I can work remotely as well if people aren't local but would like a session.
Cool. And there you heard it from Sarah herself. So it just remains for me to say thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on and talking about it. So interesting. I know
Thank
from the
you.
rest of us, we're really honoured that you took the time out of your busy evening to come and talk to us. Angela was
you.
singing your praises, so only just say a big thank you from all of us, and thank you everybody for watching tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. It's really interesting. It's something. And if you do want to get hold of Sarah, you've got the links, and the link will be attached to the video tonight. So get hold of Sarah. Go and see how bad you were in a previous life, or how good you might have been, and then come on here and let us know how bad or good you were. If you were Attila the Hunt or something like that, Bodicea, someone exciting in a previous life, be interesting. But thank you so much, Sarah, for that. It's been so interesting. A big thank you from the whole of the team for taking the time out of your evening for us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I was honoured to be asked. Thank you.
No, that's a pleasure. Thank you so much. And to everybody watching, big thank you again. Stay safe this week and be careful out there. And it only remains for me to say good night and have a safe week from all of us on the team and all of us on the Monday Night Paranormal Live. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.